What's up, guys? Welcome to Nullvoid. Today, we're going to go over the concept of dynamic programming. It's a very important concept if you consider your coding interviews. So, we'll go over what is dynamic programming, how should we implement it, and why do we really need dynamic programming. So, let's get into it. Let's look at the definition of dynamic programming on Geeks for Geeks. It says that dynamic programming is mainly an optimization of a plain recursion. Wherever we see a recursive solution that has repeated calls for same inputs, we can optimize it using dynamic programming. The idea is to simply store those results of subproblems so that we do not have to recompute them when we need them later. To understand this better, let's say you're solving a very big problem. So, what you do is you divide that big problem into further sub problems, and maybe those further sub problems can be divided into further smaller sub problems, and on and on. So, let's say while doing this all this calculation, there comes a point where you have to calculate the value of 36 cube. So what you do is you do that calculation and you write the value of 36 cube on a board so that in future if you need that value again you can just look at the board. So this is the value of 36 cube. I don't have to recalculate it. And this is what basically dynamic programming is. So in normal recursion, you will calculate out the scenarios again and again. But in dynamic programming, if you have solved a problem earlier, you just store it in memory, let's say in an array or an hash map or a 2D array. And when you see that problem again, that this sub problem I've seen it earlier, I've stored it, I can just take the value instead of recalculation, and that's all what dynamic programming is. To understand this further, let's take a problem which is a classical dynamic programming question where you work in a bank and that bank is having three types of coin. They have 1 rupee coins, they have 2 rupee coins, they have 5 rupee coins, and a customer comes to you and asks for an amount. Let's say he says I want 100 rupees. So what you need to do is you need to calculate the minimum number of coins that are needed to get that amount. Let's take an example where we need to find out minimum number of coins to get rupees 11. So to reach 11, what are all the ways by which I can reach 11? Now I can reach 11 from 1 also, from 2 also. From 1, if I use 10 1 rupee coin, I can reach 11. But we need to find the minimum number of coins. So I need to check what are all the positions from which I can reach 11 by using just one coin. So if we are at rupees 10, we know the minimum number of coins required for rupees 10 is X. Then using just one coin, that is the 1 rupee coin, we can reach 11, right? Now let's say we are at rupees 9. Then by using just one coin, that is the 2 rupee coin, we can reach 11. And let's say we are at rupees 6. Now using just one coin we can reach 11 using the 5 rupee coin. So 10, 9, and 6 are these three positions by which I can reach 11 by using just one coin. And minimum number of coins for 10 is X, for 9 is Y, and for 6 is Z. So if I can find out what is the minimum of these three, then I'll know. Let's say minimum of these three is X, then I know to reach 11, I just need X plus 1 coins, right? It will not be Y plus 1 because X plus 1 will always be less than Y plus 1 because as X is less than Y, and in the same manner, X is less than Z. So we need to calculate what are all the ways to reach 10. Let's say we do not know, for now we do not know which one of them is less because we have not calculated it. We'll further branch it out in sub problems and calculate it. Let's do a depth first search here, like a depth first search type of solution to get to the bottom of it. Now we need to calculate the minimum number of coins required to get 10. Now we can reach 10 using just one coin from rupees 9, that is using a 1 rupee coin. From 8 also we can reach 10 using one coin, that is a 2 rupee coin. From 5 we can reach 10 using one coin, that is a 5 rupee coin. In the same way we can reach 9 from 874, we can reach 8 from 763, we can reach 7 from 651, we can reach 6 from 541, we can reach 4 from 3 and 2. Also, as 4 is less than 5, so we cannot use a 5 rupee coin, that is why we just use 2 coin. This is the 1 rupee coin, and this is the 2 rupee coin. Now, we have a 2 rupee coin, so we cannot go like we do not need to go below this, because how can we reach 2? We can either use one 2 rupee coin or two 1 rupees coin, so that does not make sense. So we will just use a 2 rupee coin here. Now for 3, we can reach it from rupees 2 or rupees 1, and both are our like our base conditions. 1, 2 and 5 are our base conditions, so we'll stop. So now let's get back. I know how to the minimum number of ways to reach 3, right? From this equation, I'll know the minimum number of ways to reach 3. I can reach 2 using one coin, that is the 2 rupee coin. I can reach 1 using one coin, that is the 1 rupee coin. Now to reach 3, I just need one more coin. So either use 2 or 1. You just need one more coin to reach 3. So we did that for 3. For 4 also we'll do the same thing. Out of these two, which one is smaller? Plus one of that, we can reach rupees 4. In the same way we can reach 6. In the same way we can reach 7 by calculating this further. Yeah, so these are base conditions, so we do not need to calculate it. We got 6 by doing these calculations here. Now we reach 8th, and we know the minimum number of coins to reach 7, right, by doing the calculations below. Now we need to calculate the minimum number of coins to reach 6, but we have already calculated it. So this is what dynamic programming is. When we were going here, we know that minimum number of coins needed to reach 6 is this. So what we do is we store it in an array, and when we come here, we look into the array. Do I have this? Yes, I have the minimum number of coins to reach 6. I'll just use it. So all the sub problem, all the sub branches from 6, all this part, we are able to save this calculation here. Now for 3 also, we have already calculated it. We can just take it here. So we are able to save all this calculation using dynamic programming. We go to 7. We have already calculated 7. We can just reuse it. We have already calculated 4. We can reuse it. And say in the same manner, we have calculated 8, 5. We have calculated 9 also. And we have calculated 6 also, right? So we are able to save this entire piece of calculation here by using dynamic programming, where we are using memory to check if we have solved this problem earlier or not. If we have solved it earlier, then we know we do not have to recalculate it. So we come back here. Now we know minimum number of ways to reach 10. We know minimum number of ways to reach 9. We know minimum number of ways to reach 6, right? We know all these values that are x, y, z. We can just pick the minimum of x, y, z, and we know the answer. The answer will be minimum of x, y, z plus 1. So if I have to show it to you in a formula, to calculate the minimum number of coins for a amount n. So this is a lead code problem. So we can say we have this function n, where we pass the amount. We'll know this is the minimum number of coin, given the coins are of denomination 1, 2 and 5. So how we can calculate is, we can take a step back, where we will check from where all we can reach this nth amount. We can reach it from n-1 using a 1 rupee coin. We can reach here from n-2 using a 2 rupee coin. We can reach this from n-5 using a 5 rupee coin, and we'll do plus 1 from basically whichever one we use it. So if I have to write this for what we did just right now, so f11 will become minimum of f of n-1, that will be 10. From 10 we can reach 11 using just a 1 rupee coin. From 9 n-2 we can reach here using a 2 rupee coin, and from 6 using a 5 rupee coin. And we are doing plus 1 because this is the way to reach these position. We need to use one of these coins to reach f11. So this is the basic formula for it, by which we are going to solve this problem. This is how you solve coin change, and using dynamic programming, you can save up the extra calculation that you were doing earlier in the recursion, and that's what basically dynamic programming is. Now let's look at the definition that we saw earlier for dynamic programming. Dynamic programming is mainly an optimization over plain recursion, exactly what we did. Wherever we see a recursive solution that has repeated calls for the same inputs, we can optimize it using dynamic programming. So in our problem, we knew that we have solved minimum number of coins to get rupees 6. We do not have to recalculate it because we are storing it somewhere. So the idea is to simply store the results of sub problems, exactly what we were doing, so that we do not have to recompute them when we need it later. So that is what all that is there in dynamic programming. That is the basics of it. You see a recursive problem, you just start storing the results of sub problems in some memory, let's say array or hash map or 2D array, and whenever you need to calculate that those values again, you just reuse it from there. So if you think this was helpful, then please do leave a like, share this with all your friends who need to learn dynamic programming, and please do subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'll be bringing a lot of such stuff in future. I think that's all from my side for this time. I'll see you next time.